Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Cody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mama 6, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Hi everyone, and I want to thank you for having joined me in Season 2 of the Homestead Education Podcast. It has been a great season with some amazing guests, and I can't wait to continue this momentum as we head into the third season. I have found that one of my listeners' favorite topics is homeschooling, and how to teach homesteading in the homeschool. So next season, I'm going to have one episode a week completely devoted to homeschool. Isn't that exciting? But here's where it gets really exciting. I'm not leaving my other listeners hanging. I will have a second episode each week to discuss homesteading, homestead businesses, agriculture, and personal growth. So I have a few announcements before we get going on today's episode. First, I am offering my Christmas sale for a few more days. So that's 15% off of all curriculum with the code GIFT15. And all of my printed storybooks are 20% off until the end of December. The storybook box set comes with the audiobooks as a free gift always. And did you know that I also offer the animal science units of the curriculum as a standalone digital e-text? This is a great option for those who only want part of the curriculum. I'll link all this information in the show notes. I also want to make sure that everyone is subscribed to my newsletter. This is where I give some insight into our daily lives. I start conversations with you. I give content updates, post subscriber-only sales, and my favorite part is where I link you guys some of my favorite products, usually from other small businesses and homesteads. There have been a lot of problems with business newsletters going into promotion folders or even spam lately. And I'm not just giving you this heads up for my own benefit, because I've been really disappointed to find some of my favorite newsletters in my spam folder lately. So make sure that you check these folders and flag your favorite businesses as not spam. I have 2 great learning opportunities for you coming up over the next 2 weeks. First, I'll be speaking in a Homesteading in Your Homeschool Summit. There's going to be several other great speakers as well in this summit, and it's launching January 7th. You can get lifetime access to this for one low price, so see the show notes for more information. Next, which is actually coming first, is I will be hosting a completely free How to Teach Your Kids Homesteading for Lifelong Self-Sufficiency live webinar on Friday, December 30th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So be sure to register to get your free guide to teaching your kids homesteading. This is going to be an in-depth webinar going into the why and how of teaching homesteading. And trust me, guys, it's going to be fire. Now, if you can't make the webinar on Friday, or if you're listening to this episode much later, it's still there for you. It's just not going to have the live question and answer at the end, and you won't be able to catch some webinar-only promotions. All right, on to this week's episode of How to Teach Homesteading. Do you want to give your kids a desire for self-sufficiency? To be strong and confident? To be someone you can rely on, who shows respect for animals, each other, and the land, while preserving traditions and their food? Who sees the value in home cooking and natural health? Teach them to homestead. All right, I'm not going to cover all parts of teaching kids to homesteading today, because you can get all of that in my free webinar. But what I do want to emphasize is that most kids don't just do things because we told them so. Now, I do want to back up and say that we are the parents, and it is our job to guide and teach our kids. Bottom line is that sometimes they do need to do things just because we told them so. My biggest one is for safety for themselves and others. I strive to have an understanding with my kids that if I tell them to do something, especially in an urgent tone, I am not to be questioned. 99% of the time, I will follow up this scenario with an explanation as to why we had urgency, or they will figure out on their own because of the circumstances. But we always thank them for their quick action afterwards. On a homestead, or really anywhere in rural life, there are many times in which there are situations that everyone needs to jump into action. For my younger kids, that can mean simply getting out of the way. There are often times where there's road cows, power outages, and wrecks on the highway, And I know that my kids can be relied on to handle emergencies simply because they know when we tell them to do something, they need to do it now. For non-emergent situations, we try to take time to teach or explain as often as possible. We don't have a lot of issues with defiance. It's generally more of an issue of completing something in a timely manner. This is where the majority of the teaching comes into play. The example that I use the most is giving piglets iron shots within 48 hours of birth. Piglets are not born with iron stores in their livers, and a sow's milk is iron deficient. Therefore, it's extremely important for kids to let us know when there's a litter born and then follow through with piglet processing. Processing includes iron shots, clipping their needle teeth, and if they're going to be a pig that's shown at fair, the tail will need to be docked. We have about 150 piglets born on our homestead every year, and in the past, we've lost a couple of piglets from what we believe was anemia, the lack of iron. This was eye-opening for our kids, and they didn't like that their actions led to the loss of an animal. Unfortunately, them experiencing this loss was the incentive that they needed to be able to grasp the importance of proper and timely herd management. Kids have to be able to fail sometimes. Because of the teachings we have provided our children, we are able to give them direction without explanation due to the respect that they have for our understanding of proper and timely herd management. Now, every family is different, but I know that when I started teaching this way from a young age, we have seen really positive results. With our younger kids, we started this process by having them complete the task because I told you so. Then we follow up with, thank you for your help to take out the trash. Now I can make your dinner more quickly. Understanding why they need to help and then how it affects them really is key. Now, in the case that I do occasionally get a snotty why, because let's face it, I have teenagers. This is a non-negotiable. The task will be completed. If not, there will be a consequence that handles the instant gratification that they were seeking by not completing the task. This is the natural consequences that go hand in hand with the consequences that happen from homestead mismanagement. To hear more on how to teach homesteading, register for my free webinar at thehomesteadeducation.com/teach-homesteading. I hope this gave you something to think about. And until next time, keep growing. Well, thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Homemade Revelation. Do you have questions that you'd like answered or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing!